The shuttle was falling apart around him. Cole held tight to his seat as fire and smoke filled the small cabin. Warning lights flashed red. The computer voice kept saying the same thing over and over. Hull breach. Engine failure. Impact in 30 seconds. Had been a soldier for 12 years. He had seen battles on 3 different worlds, but he had never felt fear like this. Through the cracked window, he could see the ground of 7 coming up fast. Trees that looked like giant purple needles, rocks that glowed with strange light, and somewhere down there the enemy. The Dominion had shot him down. Their patrol ship had appeared from nowhere, fired 2 missiles, and disappeared back into the clouds. Now was going to crash on a planet where both sides had agreed not to fight. A neutral world, but there was nothing neutral about dying alone in a burning shuttle. He pulled the emergency handle. The seat shot upward and broke through the roof of the shuttle. For a moment, was flying through the cold air. Then the parachute opened and he started to fall slowly. Below him, his shuttle hit the ground and exploded into a ball of orange fire. Landed hard. His left leg twisted under him and pain shot through his body. He lay on the purple grass for a long time, looking up at the strange sky. 2 moons hung above him, one blue and one pale yellow. The air smelled like metal and old flowers. He was alive, but he was alone on an enemy border world with no way to call for help. His radio was broken. His supplies were burning in the shuttle wreck half a mile away. All he had was his sidearm, a knife, and the survival training that Earth had given him. Got up slowly. His leg hurt, but it was not broken. He could walk. He had to find shelter before night came. The briefing files had said that 7 got very cold after dark, cold enough to kill a man in hours. He found the ruins just before sunset. Old stone buildings covered in vines and moss. Nobody knew who had built them. They said they were here before their people came to space. Humans said the same thing. Some ancient civilization had lived and died on this world long ago. Now only their empty buildings remained. Chose a small structure with most of its roof still intact. He gathered dry plants and made a small fire using his emergency kit. The flames gave him warmth and a little bit of hope. Tomorrow he would figure out what to do. Tonight he just needed to survive. He did not know that something was watching him. Moved through the darkness without making a sound. She was tall, over 7 feet, with scales that shifted color from deep blue to silver as she walked. 4 arms hung at her sides, each one ending in clawed fingers built for killing. Her eyes were large and golden, designed to see in the dark better than any human could imagine. She was there was no higher honor for a female warrior. From the age of 5, she had trained in combat. By 10, she had killed her first enemy. Now, at 42 years old, which was young for her species, she was one of the deadliest fighters in the Dominion. But tonight she was not here as a soldier. She was here for her sacred hunt. Every had to complete the ritual before they could claim full status. They had to find a worthy opponent and defeat them in single combat. The opponent had to be someone dangerous, someone who could actually pose a threat. Killing a weak enemy meant nothing. Had tracked the shuttle when it fell from the sky. She had watched the human survive the crash. She had followed him to the ruins, and now she was deciding if he was worth her blade. Humans were strange creatures, small and soft with only 2 arms and dull teeth. They lived such short lives, barely 100 years if they were lucky. They had first met them 30 years ago, and since then the 2 species had been locked in a cold war. Not quite fighting, but not at peace either. Most thought humans were weak, easy to kill, not worthy of respect, but had read the reports from the border skirmishes. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not follow the rules of honorable combat. They used tricks and traps. They sacrificed themselves to save their friends. They kept fighting even when they should have surrendered. This made them unpredictable, and that made them dangerous. Watched the human sitting by his small fire. He was injured. He was alone. He had almost no weapons. By all logic, he should be an easy kill, but something in the way he sat there, calm and alert despite everything, made her pause. She would test him. If he died quickly, he was not worth her blade. But if he fought well, even for a few moments, then she would have her worthy opponent. Stepped out of the shadows and into the firelight. Saw her and his blood went cold. She was the most terrifying thing he had ever seen. A massive alien warrior with 4 arms and a blade in each hand. Her golden eyes fixed on him with a look that said she was here to kill. He grabbed his pistol and fired 3 shots. They moved like water, flowing around each bullet as if she had known where they would go before he pulled the trigger. Then she was in front of him, one blade at his throat. But did not freeze. He ducked under the blade and rolled to the side. He came up with his knife in his hand and slashed at her leg. The knife scraped against her scales but did not cut deep. Felt a small spark of surprise. No human had ever dodged her first strike before. She smiled. This one might be worthy after all. The fight that followed was brutal. Knew he could not win. She was faster, stronger, and had twice as many arms. But he did not fight to win. He fought to survive. He used the ruins to his advantage, making her chase him through narrow doorways where her size worked against her. He threw rocks and dirt at her eyes. He used every dirty trick he had ever learned. For 15 minutes he stayed alive, for that was almost impossible. Finally caught him. One of her blades sliced across his chest, cutting deep into his flesh. Fell to his knees, blood pouring from the wound. He looked up at the alien warrior standing over him, her ceremonial blade raised for the killing blow. Then the blade began to glow. Stared at her weapon in shock. The crystal edge, soaked in human blood, was shining with a light she had only seen in ancient texts, a light that had not appeared in over 3,000 years. The eternal tether. The blade fell from her hands. Her whole body trembled. She looked down at the dying human with new eyes, filled with horror and disbelief. What had she done? Was dying. He could feel his life draining out through the wound in his chest. The world was getting dark around the edges. Cold was spreading through his body. He had maybe 2 minutes left, maybe less. But the alien was not killing him. She was standing there, staring at her glowing blade with an expression he did not understand. Fear, confusion, something else. Then she moved, but not to finish him off. Instead, she dropped to her knees beside him and pressed all 4 of her hands against his chest wound. She shouted words in her own language, harsh and angry sounds that could not understand. A moment later, she pulled a small device from her belt and pressed it against his skin. Cool liquid flowed into his body. The pain started to fade. The bleeding slowed down. She was saving his life. The creature that had just tried to kill him was now trying to keep him alive. Wanted to ask why. He wanted to understand what was happening, but darkness took him before he could speak. When he woke up, it was morning. Pale blue sunlight came through the holes in the old roof, was lying on a pile of soft leaves, and strange bandages covered his chest. They felt warm and tingled against his skin. Technology, he guessed, far better than anything humans had. He sat up slowly. His body ached, but the wound that should have killed him was already healing. That was impossible. A cut that deep should have taken weeks to close, even with the best human medicine. There was sitting across the room from him. She had her back against the wall and her golden eyes were watching him. Her 4 hands rested on her knees. The glowing blade lay on the ground between them, still giving off a faint light. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then said, "Why am I alive?" This face twisted with anger. "Because I had no choice," she said. Her voice was deep and rough, but she spoke human standard well enough. "Because of what you did." "What I did," touched the bandage on his chest. "You attacked me, you cut me open, I was defending myself." "Your blood," she said. She pointed at the blade. "It touched my sacred blade, it activated the crystal." Looked at the weapon. It was beautiful in a deadly way. The handle was made of dark metal carved with symbols. The blade itself was long and curved, made from some kind of crystal that glowed from within. "I do not understand," he said. The stood up. She was even more terrifying in daylight. Her scales shimmered blue and silver, and muscles moved under her skin like steel cables. But there was something in her eyes that looked almost like fear. "My blade is made from bonding crystal," she said. "It has been in my family for 1,000 years. It was made in the old times when my people were different, when we had rituals that we have now forgotten." She walked closer to him, tensed, but she made no move to attack. "The crystal is alive," she continued. "It reads the soul of whoever bleeds on it. If the blood comes from someone weak or unworthy, nothing happens. But if the blood comes from someone the crystal judges as truly worthy." She stopped and closed her eyes. "Then the eternal tether is formed." Felt cold despite the warm bandages. "What is the eternal tether?" "A bond," she said. "A connection between two souls. It has not happened in over 3,000 years. We thought it was a myth, a story from the ancient texts that could not be real." She opened her eyes and looked at him with a mixture of rage and confusion. "But it is real, and now I am bound to you." Tried to process what she was saying. Bound how? "Our life forces are connected. If you die, I die. If I die, you die. We cannot kill each other. We cannot be separated by too great a distance for too long. The crystal has tied us together, human." She spat the last word like a curse. "I am one of the greatest warriors of the Dominion, and now my life depends on keeping a small, soft, short-lived creature alive." Should have been afraid. He should have been angry. But instead, he felt a strange laugh building in his chest. The situation was so impossible, so insane, that laughter was the only response that made sense. "This is not funny," the growled. "No," agreed, still fighting the urge to laugh. "It really is not, but you have to admit it is pretty strange. You came here to kill me for some honor ritual, and now you are stuck with me forever." The scales flushed dark purple, which guessed was her version of blushing with shame. "Do not remind me." "What is your name?" asked. "If we are going to be bound together for life, I should probably know what to call you." She hesitated, as if giving her name to a human was painful. She said finally, "Of the house of third daughter of the cast." "I am Cole," he said, "commander in the United Earth Defense Force, although I suppose that does not matter much now." His communicator beeped. She looked at it, and her expression grew even more troubled. "What is it?" asked. "My people," she said. "They want to know why I have not reported back. The sacred hunt should not take this long." She looked at him. "If I tell them what happened, I will be executed. A bonded to an alien, especially a human, is the greatest shame imaginable. My entire family would lose their honor. My sisters would be stripped of their rank. My mother would be forced to commit ritual suicide." Stared at her. The culture was even harsher than he had imagined. "So what do we do?" "I do not know," admitted. It was clearly hard for her to say those words. "I cannot go back to my people. I cannot kill you. I cannot let you die. And if your people find out I am here, they will probably kill me and start the war that everyone has been dreading." Thought about this. She was right. If Earth found out that it was on a neutral world and had attacked a human officer, it would be the excuse the war hawks had been waiting for. Millions would die. "Then we both need to disappear," he said. "At least for now. At least until we figure out what to do." Looked at him with suspicion. "You would work with me. I tried to kill you." "And now you saved my life," said. "Besides, it sounds like we do not have much choice. If you die, I die. That gives me a pretty good reason to keep you safe." For a long moment said nothing. Then slowly she nodded. "I do not like this," she said. "I do not like you. Humans are weak and strange, and you smell bad." "Thanks," said dryly. "You are not exactly my first choice for a partner either, but here we are." Picked up her blade. The glow had faded to a soft shimmer, but it was still there. a constant reminder of what had happened between them. "We will need to move," she said. "This place is too easy to find. There are caves in the mountains to the north. We can hide there while we decide our next step." Stood up, his legs were shaky, but they held him. Whatever medicine had given him was doing its job. "Then let us go," he said. They walked out of the ruins together, the human and the two enemies bound by ancient magic they did not understand. Neither of them knew what the future would bring. Neither of them knew if they would survive the days ahead. But they knew one thing for certain. For better or worse, their fates were now tied together, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. 3 days passed in the mountains, and found a deep cave system that kept them hidden from any ships that might be searching overhead. They built no fires at night, ate cold rations, and spoke as little as possible. But the bond between them was growing stronger. First noticed it on the second day. He was sitting at the cave entrance, watching the sunset, when he suddenly felt a wave of sadness that was not his own. It came from somewhere deep inside his chest, like an echo of someone else's heart. He turned and looked at. She was sitting in the shadows, her golden eyes staring at nothing. Her 4 hands were clasped together tight. "You are thinking about your family," said. His head snapped up. "How do you know that?" "I felt it," he said. "The sadness, it is coming through the bond." Looked disturbed by this. The ancient texts mention this. As the bond grows stronger, we will feel each other's emotions. Eventually, we may even share thoughts. She made a sound of disgust. "I do not want you inside my head, human." "Trust me, I do not want to be there," replied. "But it seems like we do not have a choice." That night told him about her family. She had 3 sisters, all like herself. Her mother was a retired warrior who now served on the Council of Blades. Her father had died in battle against a species called the When Was Young. "My youngest sister is named," said. "She has always been jealous of me. I was faster, stronger. I completed my training first. She has spent her whole life trying to catch up." "Sibling rivalry," said. "Humans have that too." "It is more than rivalry," said. "Wants to be the best, she needs to prove herself. And now," she paused, "now she will be the one they send to find me." Felt a chill. "Your own sister will hunt you." "It is our way," said. "When a goes rogue, family members are given the right to restore honor through blood. We'll jump at this chance. She will see it as her moment to finally defeat me. Even if it means killing you." His eyes met his, "Especially if it means killing me." Did not sleep well that night. He kept feeling flashes of fear that were not his own, was more scared than she wanted to admit. The next morning they moved deeper into the mountains. Wanted to find a place with only one entrance, somewhere that would be hard to attack. Agreed, but he also started looking for other things, materials he could use. "What are you doing?" asked as he gathered vines and sharp rocks. "Making traps," said. "If your sister is coming, we need more than just your blades to stop her." Looked at the crude materials in his hands. "Those will not stop her." "Maybe not, but they might slow her down, give us time to react." Started weaving the vines together. "Humans learned a long time ago that we cannot beat stronger enemies by fighting fair. We have to be clever. We have to cheat." "That is dishonorable," said, but there was curiosity in her voice. "That is survival," replied. "Honor does not mean much if you are dead." Over the next 2 days, built a network of traps around their cave. Trip wires connected to falling rocks, pits covered with leaves, noise makers that would alert them to anyone approaching. Watched him work with growing interest. "Your species truly is strange," she said. "You have no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. You are slow and weak. Yet you have spread across the galaxy faster than any race we know." "Because we work together," said, "and because we never give up, even when we should." Was quiet for a moment, then she said, "Tell me about Earth." Was surprised by the request, but he started talking. He told her about blue oceans and green forests, about cities that reached into the sky and villages that sat quiet in valleys. He told her about music and art and stories that humans had been telling since before they knew what stars really were. We almost destroyed ourselves, he admitted. Many times. We fought wars over land, over ideas, over things that seem so small now, but we always found a way back. We always rebuilt. Why? Asked. If you knew you might destroy yourselves, why did you keep fighting? Thought about this. Because giving up is not in our nature. We see a problem and we have to try to fix it, even if it kills us, even if it seems impossible. He smiled sadly. It is probably our greatest strength and our greatest weakness. Did not respond, but felt something through the bond, a small shift in how she saw him, not respect, not yet, but something close to understanding. On the 5th day, found them. She came at dawn when the light was still gray. Traps slowed her down, just like he had hoped. The noise makers gave them 30 seconds of warning. Was on her feet with blades drawn before even finished grabbing his knife. Walked into the cave mouth with cold confidence. She looked like, but her scales were darker, almost black, and her eyes burned with a fierce light. Sister, she said, I have been looking for you. Replied, you do not have to do this. Yes, I do, looked at with disgust. A human. You bonded yourself to a human. Mother wept when she heard. Our whole family is in shame because of what you have done. I did not choose this, said. The blade chose him. His blood activated the crystal. Then the crystal is broken, snapped. Humans are not worthy. They cannot be worthy. They are lesser beings and you have tied yourself to one like a pet on a leash. She raised her blades. I will end this shame. When you are both dead, our family's honor will be restored. Moved to block her path. I will not let you kill him. You cannot stop me, said. I have trained every day since you left. I am faster now, stronger. This is my moment, sister, the moment I have been waiting for my whole life. The two began to circle each other, watched, feeling helpless. He could not fight he had barely survived against, and she had been testing him, not trying to kill him, would cut him down in seconds. But then something strange happened. Lunged at and did not fight back. She blocked the strikes, she dodged and moved, but she did not attack. Fight me, screamed. Stop holding back. I will not kill my sister, said. Not for honor, not for anything. Understood then. Could not bring herself to truly fight. The bond had changed something inside her. Or maybe she had always felt this way, but was only now able to show it. Pressed harder. One of her blades cuts arm. Another slashed across her shoulder. Was bleeding, weakening, and still she would not strike back. Made a decision. He stepped between them. Stopped, surprised. Stood there with no weapon in his hands. He had dropped his knife on the ground. Kill me, he said. Both stared at him. Kill me, repeated. If my death will give back her honor, then do it. She saved my life when she did not have to. She could have let me die and freed herself from the bond. But she chose to save me. That means something. He looked at its golden eyes. Your sister is not weak. She is not a shame to your family. She showed mercy when mercy was hard. That takes more strength than any fight. His blade was at his throat. One small push and he would die. But she did not push. Why would you do this? She whispered. Why would you die for who tried to murder you? Smiled, because that is what humans do. His blade stayed its throat. He could feel the cold crystal edge pressing against his skin. 1 heartbeat, 2 heartbeats, 3. She did not cut. I do not understand you, said. Her voice was quieter now, confused. You should be begging for your life. You should be running. Instead, you stand here offering your death like it means nothing. It means everything, said. But some things are worth dying for. Saved me. She protected me when her own laws said she should let me die. If my life is the price for her freedom, then it is a price I am willing to pay. Pulled her blade back slowly. She looked at, who was bleeding from her wounds but still standing. Is this true? Asked. You saved him. You could have let him die and broken the bond. Nodded. In the first hours after the bonding, I could have let him bleed out. The bond was not fully formed yet. I would have felt pain, but I would have survived. She looked at. I chose not to. Why? Demanded. Because he fought, said. He knew he could not win against me, but he fought anyway. For 15 minutes he stayed alive against that has never happened before. The crystal saw something in him that I did not understand at first. Now I am starting to. Lowered her blades completely. The killing rage had left her eyes, replaced by something more complicated. She sat down on a rock, suddenly looking tired. Tell me, she said too. Tell me what humans are, because everything I have been taught says you are weak creatures not worth our attention, but what I have seen here does not match what I was taught. Sat down too. His legs were shaking from the fear he had been hiding. Moved to his side, and he felt her concern through the bond. Strange that an alien who had tried to kill him was now worried about him. Humans are not strong, began. You are right about that. Compared to most species in the galaxy, we are small and soft and slow. We do not have claws or scales or natural armor. We cannot see in the dark like you can. We get sick easily. We die young. Nodded. This is what our files say about you. But those files do not tell the whole story, continued. We grew up on a hard world. We were not the strongest predators, so we had to be We learned to use tools. We learned to work together. And most importantly, we learned to never, ever give up. He looked at both sisters. Your people fight for honor, for glory, for status. When a loses a battle, they accept defeat, but humans do not think that way. We fight until we cannot fight anymore, and then we find new ways to keep fighting. We lose a battle and come back with better weapons. We lose a war and spend generations planning revenge. It is not always a good thing. Sometimes our stubbornness makes things worse, but it is who we are. That sounds exhausting, said. It is, admitted, but it is also how we survived. We faced extinction many times on Earth, ice ages, plagues, wars that nearly destroyed our whole civilization. Every time we rebuilt, every time we kept going, he smiled. There is an old human saying, it is not about how hard you can hit, it is about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Spoke up. When he was bleeding out from my blade, he did not beg or cry. He looked me in the eyes and asked why I had stopped. She shook her head. I have killed many enemies. None of them faced death like that. Was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, softer. Our people are planning war, she said. The High Command has decided that humans are too dangerous to leave alone. They see what you just described, this refusal to give up, as a threat. They believe if they do not destroy humanity now, you will eventually become powerful enough to destroy us. Felt cold. When? Soon, maybe within the year. The fleet is being gathered. The attack plans are being made. Looked at her sister. That is the real reason I was sent here so quickly. The High Command wanted any loose ends cleaned up before the war begins. A bonded to a human would have complicated things. His eyes went wide. They knew about the bond. How? Our mother told them. She hoped they would send a team to help you break it. Instead, they sent me to kill you both. Hands formed fists. I was a tool. They used my jealousy against me. They knew I would jump at the chance to defeat you. But you did not, said. No, looked at him. Because of you, because you did something no would ever do. You offered your life for someone else's honor. You put her needs above your own survival. She shook her head. Our ancient texts speak of this quality. They called it soul fire, the belief that some things matter more than living. Was surprised. Used to believe this too. Long ago, said, before we became what we are now, before honor became about status and rank instead of character and sacrifice. She picked up her glowing blade and looked at it. The bonding crystals were made in those times. That is why the eternal tether has not activated in 3,000 years. No one has been truly worthy in all that time. Until him, said quietly. The three of them sat in silence as the sun rose higher outside the cave. Finally, spoke again. There may be a way to stop the war, or at least delay it. How? Asked. The High Command does not have complete power, explained. There is an elder council, ancient who remember the old ways. They have the authority to overrule the High Command on matters of tradition and sacred law. If you could prove to them that the bond is real, that a human triggered the eternal tether, it would force them to reconsider everything they believe about your species. Would they listen? Asked. They would have to. The bonding crystals are sacred artifacts. If one is activated, the elders cannot ignore it. They would have to investigate. They would have to study the human and understand why the crystal judged him worthy. Thought about this, so we need to get to Prime. Yes, said, but it will not be easy. The planet is heavily guarded, and if anyone discovers who you are before we reach the Elder Council, we will all be killed. I am used to hard, said. How do we do it? Looked at, I have a ship hidden near here. It can get us off this world and through the border defenses. But once we are in space, we will need to be careful, very careful. Nodded slowly. You are risking everything, sister. If this fails, you will die with us. I know, said, but what you said is true. The old ways spoke of more than just combat skills. They spoke of courage, of sacrifice, of standing for what is right even when it costs everything. She looked at. This human reminded me of that. If he can offer his life for someone he barely knows, I can do the same for my sister. Felt something warm through the bond. It took him a moment to realize it was coming from gratitude, and something that might have been hope. Then we have a plan, he said. Let us go save the galaxy. Smiled. It was the first time had seen a smile. It looked dangerous and beautiful at the same time. You say strange things, human. My name is, he said. If we are going to risk our lives together, you should probably use it. Repeated as if tasting the word. Very well, let us go. Together, the three of them walked out of the cave and toward an uncertain future. A human and two warriors, united by blood and bound by hope. The galaxy would never be the same. The journey to Prime took 9 days. 9 days of hiding in cargo containers, sneaking through patrol checkpoints, and holding their breath every time a security scanner passed over them. Lost count of how many times he thought they would be caught. But knew the Dominion's weaknesses. She knew which routes the patrols avoided and which officers could be bribed. By the time they reached had a new respect for her cunning. Prime was beautiful and terrifying. The sky burned orange and red, lit by a dying star that would not fade for another billion years. The cities were carved into massive cliffs, their towers reaching down into valleys filled with purple clouds. Everything was built for war. Every building could become a fortress. Every street was designed for defense. How do we reach the Elder Council? Asked as they hid in a storage building near the capital. The council meets in the Temple of the First Blade, said. It is the oldest building on our world. Only those with sacred business may enter. And we count as sacred business. The eternal tether is the most sacred bond in our culture, said. If we can prove it is real, the elders must hear us. The problem is getting past the guards long enough to make our case. They waited until nightfall, wore a hooded cloak that hid his human features, and walked on either side of him like escorts. They moved through the streets with purpose, trying to look like they belonged. The Temple of the First Blade was massive. Stone columns as tall as skyscrapers supported a roof made of crystal that caught the starlight and scattered it like diamonds. At the entrance, 4 guards stood with weapons drawn. Stepped forward. I am of the house of, I claim the right of sacred testimony. I have evidence of an eternal tether that must be presented to the Elder Council. The guards looked at each other. One of them laughed. The eternal tether is a myth, he said. No one has made such a claim in 3,000 years. Pulled her blade from its sheath. The crystal edge still glowed with soft light, the same light that had been shining since blood first touched it. The guards stopped laughing. Their eyes went wide. "Impossible," one of them whispered. "Possible," said. "Now let us pass, or answer to the elders for blocking sacred business." The guards moved aside. Inside the temple, the air was cold and smelled of ancient incense. Huge statues of warriors lined the walls, their stone eyes seeming to follow as he walked. At the far end of the hall, 5 figures sat on raised platforms made of black stone. The Elder Council. They were old, older than any had seen. Their scales had faded to pale gray and their movements were slow and careful, but their eyes were sharp, missing nothing. "Who comes before the Elder Council?" the center figure asked. Her voice echoed through the temple like rolling thunder. Stepped forward and knelt. "I am. With me are my sister and a human called Cole. We come to present evidence of an eternal tether." The elders murmured among themselves. The center figure raised one of her 4 hands for silence. "Approach," she commanded. Walked forward with beside him. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. Everything depended on the next few minutes. "Show us the blade," the elder said. Held up her weapon. The crystal glowed brighter in the presence of the elders, as if responding to some ancient power in the room. "It does glow," one of the elders admitted, "but glow can be faked. How do we know this is a true bond?" Spoke up and tested. All eyes turned to him. "There must be a way to verify," he said. "Some ritual or trial that proves whether the bond is real." The center elder studied him for a long moment. "There is," she said, "the trial of severance. It attempts to break the bond through pure energy. If the bond is false, both parties will survive unharmed. If it is real, attempting to break it will kill you both." Felt grab his arm through the bond. He felt her fear. "No," said, "the risk is too great." "The risk is necessary," replied. He looked at the elders. "We are here because your high command is planning a war against humanity. Millions will die on both sides. If proving this bond can stop that war, then my life is a small price." "You would die for people you have never met?" the elder asked. "I would die for what is right," said. "That is what humans do." The elder was silent, then she nodded. "Very well, the trial of severance will begin." They made and stand in the center of the temple floor. A circle of ancient symbols was painted around them. The elders began to chant in a language older than the current civilization. Energy filled the air. It crackled and sparked like lightning. Felt it pressing against his skin, trying to get inside. Then the pain started. It was like being torn apart from the inside. Every cell in his body screamed in agony. He could feel the energy trying to rip the bond between him and trying to separate 2 souls that had been joined. Through the pain he felt her fear, her determination, her refusal to let go. He reached for her through the bond, holding on with everything he had. Memories flooded through him, not his own memories but hers. He saw as a child training with wooden swords. He saw her first kill, the pride and the horror mixed together. He saw her mother's face, stern but loving. He saw generations of warriors stretching back through time. And saw him. She saw his childhood on a farm in the middle of a country called Kansas. She saw his friends, his family, the pet dog he had loved as a boy. She saw him join the military, not for glory, but because he wanted to protect people. She saw every moment of hope and fear and love that had made him who he was. The energy reached its peak, felt like he was going to shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. Then suddenly it stopped. He was on his knees, breathing hard, was beside him also gasping for air, but they were both alive. The elder council stared at them in shock. "The bond holds," the center elder said, her voice trembled. "The eternal tether is real." Silence filled the temple. Then slowly the elders rose from their seats. "For 3,000 years we believed no one was worthy," the elder said. We believed the old ways were lost forever, but this human has proven us wrong. She looked at with new eyes. Our ancestors valued more than just strength in battle. They valued courage, sacrifice, the willingness to die for others. These are the qualities that trigger the eternal tether. She turned to address the shadows beyond the temple doors. Let the record show that the Elder Council has validated a true eternal tether between and a human. As such, humanity cannot be dismissed as a lesser species. The planned war must be reconsidered. Felt relief wash over him. It had worked. In the days that followed, everything changed. The war was called off. Diplomats from both sides began to talk for the first time in decades. It was not easy and it was not fast, but it was a beginning. And became something new. Not quite ambassadors, but something close. They were living proof that two species with every reason to hate each other could find common ground instead. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. They could feel each other's emotions clearly now. Sometimes, when they were close, they could even share thoughts. It was strange and uncomfortable and wonderful all at once. "Do you regret it?" asked one evening as they watched the sunset from a balcony in the capital city. "Regret what?" replied. "The bond, being tied to a small, soft, short-lived human for the rest of your life." Was quiet for a moment, then she smiled. It was still a dangerous smile, full of teeth and predator instinct, but there was warmth in it too. "No," she said, "I do not regret it. You have shown me things I never would have seen on my own. You have made me better." She paused. "Besides, someone has to keep you alive. You humans are very bad at taking care of yourselves." Laughed, fair enough. They stood together as the stars came out, a human and two souls bound by blood and choice. Behind them, the galaxy was changing. Old enemies were becoming new friends. A war had been prevented, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, humanity had gained something it had never had before. True allies. Not through conquest, not through tricks, but through the simple, stubborn refusal of one man to stop fighting for what was right. And that thought was the most human thing of all.